Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here today with Chris Barlow. Chris, welcome. Thanks for taking this time to chat with me today.
Thank you, Mallory. I'm excited to be here with you.
So first, maybe before we dive into what we're specifically talking about today, just let people know what it is that you do and sort of how your business focuses on supporting nonprofits, just so they know all the things. And then I know we're going to dive deep into one piece of it.
Okay, sure. So BEELine is my company. I started it in 2015, and we seek to help nonprofits be more effective in their marketing through, we do follow some specific strategies, but one of our calls is uniting your fundraising with your mission and just being more aligned in how you're approaching your marketing, letting your marketing be informed by how you do your mission. And so that marketing becomes more exciting because it comes as an overflow of who you are and what you are passionate about and of fulfilling your mission. And the way that one way that plays out is just helping organizations be more effective in growing their donor base, whether that's email marketing or running Google ad campaigns or other kinds of marketing campaigns, or just helping you extend the reach of your mission. So I like to call my title Customer Happiness Director, because that's I don't see myself as a CEO or president. I don't like those titles. So that's kind of who I am, I guess.
I love that. I love that. And today we're talking about Google AdWords in particular, because I feel like this is a black box to so many people. And not only do people not understand how to use it or when they would use it, but also when is the right time to use it. And it's certainly something I am not familiar with. And but I remember as an ED feeling well, I really want to take advantage of this free thing that's being handed to me, but the amount, Google sort of granting a certain amount of sort of advertising space, I guess, although you'll probably explain that better. I'm probably botching the whole thing already. But I think just starting to peel back the layers from okay, what are Google ad grants? What does that even mean? And how does an organization sort of start to identify whether or not it's the right time for them to be using them?
Cool. Yeah.
So I'll let you take it away from there, and then we'll just keep exploring together. Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, most of you are probably listening in who are probably aware of the program on some level. It started in 2003, so it's going on 20 years old. Whoa. It's $10,000 a month of in-kind advertising that Google provides to 501c3s here in the US. They have different requirements in other countries, but it is a global program. It's one of the most widely available grants available in the nonprofit world, and probably the best advertising specific grant. It's really easy to get in relatively. If you are a 501c3, you can't be a government entity, a hospital, or a school or academic institution. You can be a nonprofit charity under the umbrella of a school, but you can't. Your educational teaching can't be your main thing if it's again, it's formal education schooling. So those are the main two kind of requirements, and the application process. I mean, the nice thing is it's a little bit of a technical process to follow, but if you write grants, you're going to find it okay, this is just following some online steps and some pretty simple applications. And the difference between it and any kind of actual grant is you can use the advertising dollars basically how you want to. You're not really limited, and you're basically going to be guaranteed to get into the program if you meet those basic requirements. So that's an encouraging fact. Before you even start applying, you'll know if it's worth getting into.
That's awesome. And it's $10,000 a month.
Yeah, right? It's use it or lose it. So yeah, okay. You get, as you said, advertising space is a great way to think of it, because they're not giving you any money. It's just, hey, you can put up your ads and you get this amount of dollars that translates into clicks. Every time someone clicks on an ad, it's costing you quote unquote money from that grant.
Okay. Yeah. But $10,000 of space a month, that's not nothing. Now that I understand this a little bit more, this world a little bit more. Okay. So can you even just show us, if folks are watching this and they're I don't even know what they're talking about, can you just even show us how it looks, what an ad is, that this like service might be creating for them, or like the service is obviously not creating the ad, but like what those spaces are?
I sure can. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'll just describe it too for those who are listening in. When you do a search on Google, often the top results are an ad before you get to what's called the organic results. And if you can see my screen, you can see the first result. I did a search for cat adoption, and the first result is an ad. It says ad in black, and then it gives the URL. And so those first two results are ads, advertisers who have targeted the word cat adoption, the keyword, and they may be paying, they may be doing a grant. From the perspective of a searcher, I have no idea. I don't care. From the perspective of an organization, the more competitive the keyword is, the harder it's going to be to show up with the grant. I guess that I'll just mention like some of the limitations with the grant. One of the biggest limitations is if there are people who are paying real money for that same keyword that you're targeting, their ads are going to always trump yours. And you are limited in how much it's the way it works is it's an auction. So you say, I'm willing to pay X amount per click. And if someone says, I'll pay more than that, then their ad will show up above yours. And if enough advertisers are paying more than you, then your ad just won't show at all until they've run out of their budget for the day. And if you're a grant, you cannot bid more than $2 per click. Now, there are some ways to overcome that limitation, but that basically says very competitive, expensive keywords. You have to have other ways to make sure your ads get a show, or else you just, those are not going to be accessible keywords for you.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, I don't even understand what you mean by keywords. Like, how would I even know what keywords to put in? Can you just speak to that for 1 second?
Yeah. So if you're, that's great, because that's kind of the foundational place you start with is, why would someone who's on Google searching choose to click on our ad and come to our website? What could we put, what could we advertise that it makes sense for us to advertise for that will help them discover who we are? And so the keyword is just the phrase that they're searching, whether it's 2 words, 5 words, it doesn't matter. Usually less keywords is better. With the grant, you cannot target single keywords, only with paid ads, so that's another limitation. But you can target long keyword phrases too, because usually those aren't very competitive. So sometimes the volume isn't very high. Not a lot of people are searching for a phrase like that, but you might be easily able to get those people to click when they're making that search. But you kind of are thinking, okay, who are the kind of, now if you have your mission and you're just trying to advertise your services and help people access them, again, if you're an animal sanctuary, then people searching cat adoption, dog adoption, if that's what you do, then that's really straightforward. Like, know what services to advertise for. But if you're trying to find volunteers and donors, you need to come at it from a very different route, because you can't just target the word donate or make a donation or Giving Tuesday. I was looking up Giving Tuesday, that keyword is like $19 a click. And
oh my God,
that's actually pretty cheap in the Google world. Like, is
it?
Yeah, like if you're a personal injury attorney, you're paying well over $100 a click. But that's, different world. But for nonprofits, Giving Tuesday is a very expensive keyword. So you can't expect to usually show up for those kinds of generic, make a donation, tax write-off, those kinds of words that every nonprofit would want to target. So you have to start with like, what would our potential donors be looking for that aligns with our expertise, that in some way could help them. And so, like, if you're an arts nonprofit and you put on shows, you could have resources that teach people how to act, like acting skills, how to audition well. You could target those kinds of keywords like acting skills, how to audition, anything like that. And you have a series of videos that you can share with people that are free for them to access. And now you're targeting people with some way you can help them that has nothing to do with like donors directly, but you're building a relationship with people who sought out something on Google where you made a very clear, like obvious, reach from your mission. Like, this is our mission. It's related for us to teach people these skills and to help them out in this way. And then it becomes a natural process to start introducing your organization after that.
Cool. I love that. Okay. So let's say that well, actually, let me ask this question a little bit differently. When you work with folks on this, or when folks are coming sort of inquiring about this, what is the metric that most organizations like want to see? I have an idea, but like what are folks usually sort of like aiming towards, and then what's realistic for them to expect in terms of both engagement, and I don't know if we have the data around how that initial engagement around some type of value leads to donors in the future.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of organizations are, if you don't know anything about it, or it's easy to say, well, we just want to get donations for a specific fundraising campaign, or you want new donors. And you cannot expect that a Google ad, even paid, is likely to lead you to a new donor right away. This is someone who's encountering you most likely for the first time. If you're the Red Cross, you can run ads and you're going to get people, when a disaster hits, people are going to click on your ad and they're going to donate, right? You already have the awareness and the recognition. But most of us are not the Red Cross. So the metrics that, again, on the other end of the spectrum is our organizations who just say like, well, we just want like awareness, like just bring us visitors. And that's fine. Google ads can do that really well. You can get hundreds to thousands of new visitors through the grants with $10,000 per month. But a better metric is someone who is now following you in some way where you can continue that relationship. I'd say the ideal is email and text, because those channels have the highest engagement, highest open rates, click-through rates. You could get someone to join like your Facebook group. You could send people to a page that then links to a group they can join. So following you on social media is not a bad idea, but I'd say prioritize email and text, because you own those channels. Your list is your own, and email is the marketing channel with the highest ROI compared to every other marketing channel. It's like a 40-to-1 return. But $1 spent brings in a $40. That's across all industries, including for-profit. So
wait, email, that's email.
Email marketing. So growing your email subscribers. If you're going for your mission. If you're wanting to expand your mission, then it just depends on what your mission is. If you're just wanting people to like give you a call or fill in a form to like and start that contact, that's what you'll measure for. That's the goal you should set. But if you're trying to get new volunteers or donors or supporters, then your email list is a realistic and good goal to kind of aim for.
And so in the ad software, whatever, that can be tracked, I'm assuming, like they can see, they can do those keywords, have that ad like you showed us, and then there's some way to sort of track whether the person who entered the website through the ad. See, I'm the perfect person to do this this interview, because I'm so bad at this stuff. So all the people who are like, okay, thank God for someone breaking this really down. So, okay, so then somehow the website follows them and knows that they came in through the ad, and then while they were on the page that one time, they signed up for the newsletter.
Yes. So you can set up, and that's a very important thing to do with Google grant ads, is to set what your conversions are. So whatever your goal is, it could be watching a video. It could be signing up for your email list. It could be filling in a form or making a phone call. There's different ways that you can set up that tracking. And the nice thing about that is not only it gives you those metrics, so you can say, you can report to your donors, to your board, whomever, hey, this is the results we're getting from our marketing. But that data goes back into Google, into the ads platform. And instead of telling Google, well, I'm willing to pay $2 per click, you could say, Google, you get to choose how much I bid. I just want you to maximize conversions. And so what that does is that's once Google has seen you've had some conversions come through, then the next time someone does a similar search with the similar kinds of keywords, or maybe like Google knows that the user is between a certain age and located in a certain area, and they have similar demographics as someone previous who converted, and they make a similar search, then Google is going to say, okay, this is a very relevant, similar search. We're going to put your ad up front because they're likely to convert, and and you told us you want us to maximize conversions. And so, but if someone completely different that's making probably a search with a different intent, different actual desire, even though the keyword is the same, we're not going to show your ad because it's not likely to lead to a conversion. So just because you targeted a keyword doesn't mean it's going to show up every time, but that giving Google that data allows Google to continually try to improve the number, like when your ads show up, so that your ads are showing as relevant results as possible, because Google cares about the user experience. They want users to get ads that are relevant for them. And so if relevancy is measured by people taking that final step on your website, that benefits you too. So it kind of, it's really, really important to have that goal and set them and create them in the campaign.
Okay, so that's super interesting. So is there, like, let's say someone's like, okay, I like kind of understand what you're talking about. I'm just going to go, I'm going to apply for the grant. I'm going to try to figure this out myself. Doesn't necessarily like optimize the web page or the conversion process, which we can talk about more in a minute. But let's say they just don't do any of that work. So what happens is lots of people click on the ads. Nobody does the conversion activity. Does that hurt the organization's website? Like, is there a downside to trying without kind of doing it right? I'm just curious. Okay.
There actually is not a downside. And so, like, if you have the guts to just try, the worst thing that'll happen is your ad account will get deactivated by Google because you don't meet certain minimum requirements.
Okay.
And even being deactivated, that's not the same as being like suspended or something, like you're actually violating terms of service. Google, again, cares about the user experience. And I think once upon a time when it was far less kept an eye on, there were all kinds of nonprofits doing that very thing, just kind of throwing ads out there, throwing the spaghetti against the wall, hoping it would stick. And what happened for users is that they were getting really irrelevant ads. And so, Google wants it to be relevant. And so if they deactivate your account, you can get it reactivated. You can clean things up. You can do what they ask you, fix things, resubmit, and they will turn things back on for you. So that is the worst that can happen. And I've had nonprofits that I've personally connected with who they didn't have the budget to like hire us. And I was like, look, I'll get your ad campaign set up. I'm not going to touch it after that. I'm just going to let it go. And they're like, that's fine. That just gives us some awareness. And like, they're still going, a year later, 2 years later. I don't know what their measurable results are because we're not doing any like optimization. Like they would be in a very different place if they were being actively managed by someone internal or external. But getting those free clicks and getting people to have some of that like minimum awareness is, I'd say, beneficial.
Cool. Okay. And so should we talk for a little bit about the conversion process though? Like, because I think when I think back to, and I think we did use Google Ads when I was in ED, and this is like, 2011, maybe 2012. So I think we were using them. I don't think I understood at all what I was doing. And the thing I definitely didn't understand was the idea of providing engaging content that was not tangential, connected to the work that we were doing and sort of meeting the needs of the community around us. Because I was sort of always looking through things through my lens as the executive director, right? Sort of feeling like, well, no, what we need is for people to understand this, right? But they weren't like problem aware enough. Yeah, I was running an environmental literacy organization when you would still like ask a room, like, do you consider yourself an environmentalist? And people would be like, like a little different than today. And so, but we were like so activated around it that we didn't kind of like meet people where they were at. We were like, this is what we need to be talking about. But it's like, that wasn't what people are searching. And I think the thing I've learned, 10 years later, is just how critical that piece is, like the problem aware piece, meeting people where they're at, and then what do they need to see there. So will you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I love to talk about this because this comes back to your mission and who you are and what your strengths are, because that's the first kind of question you ask is like, what is our undergirding value or reason for existence? Not just our mission, but what do we truly value? Because whatever those values are, that kind of is expressed in a specific, unique way through your mission, but those values can be applied in a slightly different way. With the example I gave of arts, or like the animal sanctuary, animal sanctuary, you can, if you're helping, you care about, your underlying value might be like animals are worth caring for. So therefore, anything you do that helps with that is still part of your mission. So if you're helping pet owners, have better relationships with their pets, or how to train their pets, and do that healthily, and just, or mourn the loss of the pet, like all of that is related to kind of who you are as an animal sanctuary, even though that's not like the core of your mission. So the place you start there, is there. And then the next thing you do is, you can do actually free research inside the Google Ads platform, whether you have a grant account or not. Just create an account at ads.google.com, and you can go into their free keyword planning tool and just do searches on keywords to see what the volume is. Because you don't want to just like say, okay, we're going to create content that meets that kind of helps our donors, meets them where they're at, or helps potential donors and visitors to our site. We need to make sure that there's actually a lot of people looking for that, and there's a demand for it. So kind of validating that demand. So see, okay, we did a search for these keywords, and we see there's 1,000 searches happening per month in our region. Or if we can target all the US, like there's 100,000 searches per month for these keywords. Okay, that's clearly like some good demand there. That would be a topic for us to address, because we can do it. We know all about how to do that. So that's how you can work smarter rather than harder, by making sure that the content you're creating, you start with, there's the volume, and then the other side of the coin is, ask your current audience, send them an email with a survey, and say, we're thinking about creating a resource, a guide, a video, whatever, that addresses one of these problems. Which one do you identify with most? Which one speaks to you or is most interesting? So you can do that qualitative and quantitative before you like create anything, before you run any ads.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so what does it take? Okay, we can apply for this grant. We can get $10,000 a month for free. If people really want to see, and maybe this is like a little bit of a matrix, but like with what's sort of normal to see for organizations that are just like try to do this themselves as best they can. And then what does it look like, if you're willing to share, to like invest in working with someone like you, and how does that differentiate the results?
Yeah. So the very first, like the number one variable is how many people are searching. The more searches being made, the more potential your grant or your ads have. Because like, let's say you could target worldwide, but you're a nonprofit that deals with a really rare disease. Well, it is important. I think it would be important for you to run ads just so that anyone who happens to have that disease or dealing with it can find you more easily. But in terms of like finding a lot of donors, you're not going to be able to, you could attract donors through Google Ads, but you're going to have to come at it from a different angle. Instead of like focusing on this rare disease, which very few people are searching for, you're going to have to focus on topics like how to live a normal life when you have to go to the doctor every month, twice a month, once a week. How to make the most of holidays when you're in the hospital. How to XYZ, whatever like the unique things that you're dealing with that apply to many other people in the world. That's where you have something to teach and help, and can reach more people who have nothing to do with that specific disease that you're dealing with. Or like, so the search volume is a thing. And then, so then therefore the region that you can target. Like if you're a local nonprofit, you're targeting a rural area, or just your city, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you're going to be more limited. So I've seen accounts, and again, these are just take these numbers with a grain of salt. I've seen accounts that target a local region, 100,000, 200,000 population, spend up to half of the grant in a monthly basis.
Okay.
Some, at the beginning, and they might just spend a few $100s. It might take a while before they're spending 1,000, 2,000 or more. So that translates into, maybe a few hundred clicks. And if you have a 10% conversion rate, let's say you can get 200 clicks, then you maybe 20 new subscribers, maybe up to like 50. If you're targeting like your entire state or a region, you could easily spend the entire grant. Just depending on how competitive those keywords are and the number of clicks or visitors somewhere between 500 and a couple thousand. And again, assuming a 10% conversion rate, people subscribing, somewhere between 30 and 150 subscribers, or conversions, whatever, however you define that. And then finally, if you can target like your entire US or your country, wherever you are located, you can definitely expect to spend the whole grant, again, depending on your target keywords. And then, I would say the most visitors you could see, you may not get anywhere close to this, but the most you'd probably get is somewhere around 5,000 visitors, because I don't generally see a lot of clicks less than $2 per click. You do see some in the dollar something range. And then you can, I've seen accounts getting between 200 and 350 new email addresses a month, new signups. So
yeah.
very
solid.
Yeah, very solid, consistent growth.
Wow. I'm curious, like, I feel like, we're just in this age where, I really feel like I've changed the way I give my email address out recently, just because of the mass inundation of email communication. Have we noticed any shift? Like, have you seen any shift in like email acquisition ease or expense in the last few years?
That's a great question. I think definitely people are more demanding. They're more quick to unsubscribe. They're I don't think people are significantly less quick to subscribe if you've done a good job meeting them where they're at. So the page they hit, it should match the ad. It should match the keywords they searched. It should give them a really clear reason why they should stay on that page and why you can help them, because they could just hit back and go find the next result. Like, they don't need to stay there. So if you can make a really strong case about like, hey, we understand the issue you're dealing with, the question you have. Here's the resource we've created. Here's why it'll help you. Here's what's in it. Here's what you're going to get. Letting them know your information's confidential. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. And then in your follow-up emails, do you switch right from the first email you send them to being whatever the resource you promised, and then the next email you ask for a donation? Or are you playing the long game? Are you saying, we want you to like opening our emails? So how can we make it so that our emails are actually helpful to you? And you may not open all of them, but like when you open them, when you see an email from us, you're like, oh, cool. Let me click on that, because I get a little like happy juice when I see an email from you. And another really interesting stat that I saw recently is your welcome sequence, the first emails that people get, has something like an 80 to 86% open rate and a 25% click rate, which is way like by far the most engaged. That doesn't mean those are most high value subscribers. Like, long-term subscribers are really important, but it's just really important that people, when you first have their attention and you are first building that relationship, that they feel like they're taken care of by you. So your first emails are all about continuing to help them. So like drawing out some points from your resource. Like, did you watch the video? What did you think? Did you read the ebook? Here's some of the top bullet points that people have said that were helpful to them. Ask them to reply. What do you think? Like, what is the biggest issue you're struggling with? Or how could we make this better? Here's why we created this ebook, this book, or this resource in the first place, and tell a story of fulfilling your mission that might be in a very different context than this subscriber, different country, but different context, whatever it might be. But it illustrates the same guiding principles that you're giving them a taste of through this resource.
I love that. You're making me really think a lot about that too. Yeah, and so I think like making sure that the page they end up on doesn't have a donate thing that pops up right away, right?
Yes.
Or like things that are going to make them feel like they've kind of gotten tricked into being a part of something that they didn't ask to be a part of, and being really careful about how you move them into and make it sort of feel like, and not just feel like, but be a conscious choice that they continue to be a part of your community before perhaps you layer on some of the, fundraising pieces or other elements. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with letting them know right away that you're a nonprofit supported by donors. And and having a donate button, yeah, please have it on your site on the, at the top of the page on the right, right or left side, but just not have it pop up, be in their face. And then the other thing that actually works really well is to, if you make an appeal soon, make it about the resource and say, this resource is made possible by other donors because they believe in us and they think that this is going to help people like you. Would you consider helping us make it, get it in the hands of more people so they can experience the change or the help that this brings them? So it's kind of a pay it forward thing. So you're not asking them to get involved in your mission or fundraise like the specific fundraising campaign. It's, if this was valuable to you, would you help? Would you consider paying it forward, basically? And
okay,
that you can do that.
Okay. So what you're talking about though does involve like a certain level of kind of like tech sophistication and segmentation, perhaps like more than maybe certain nonprofits have, right? To even know, I mean, we just experienced this in my work. I, started this YouTube channel. There are resources all over it. People are coming into my email list from a billion different directions right now, and they are all being welcomed very similarly. And, I didn't really think a lot of my content has the same themes, right? Like I'm not like a nonprofit that has a bunch of different programs, right? The work I do is the work I do. So perhaps it's less complicated in that way, but we kind of got to that moment where we were like, wait a second, like we are never following up with people about the quiz results and like, how did that impact them? And I want to know, and I don't even know how to find them anymore. And like, oh, they took the quiz like 9 months ago. So I'm curious, like when you think about when an organization comes to you and they're like, okay, we think we want to do Google grants, like how do you decide or help them decide whether they're ready or not to start taking that ad space and optimizing it?
Yeah. So we start with the goals. Like, do they have realistic goals? Can I help? Do they understand what their proper expectations are? And if they do that, then we move forward. Then we say, okay, you're not looking to this to like save your organization, to get these major donors in, or to get you launched. Like this is, you could launch, but it's I'm going to grow my donor base, and it's going to be the consistent growth. So there's, kind of understanding that. And then there's like, okay, so there's some organizations that they're already ready to go. They're already basically have some of these assets in place. Their website has some content. They have some ways to help. They're already trying to seek ways to help their donors, and they just need to plug in the ads and they kind of build from there. But if you're like brand new, then we're just starting with kind of things I've said already. How can you help people, and what should you create first? So then we focus that on those things first. And I mean, we need to make sure that there's enough searches being done for your target keywords. We need to make sure that you have the resources internally or a budget to get the work done to build some of those assets that you need. And again, it's a lot easier if you're just wanting to expand your mission and get people finding your programs and services, then those are probably already on your site. And there's probably an easy way. If there's not a way now, it's really easy to add a form or add your phone number, and make it possible for people to reach you for services. So if that's what you want to do, it's like low-hanging fruit. Start with that. That won't take very much time from or effort. But if you're wanting to kind of build a whole system of, we want new people to find us, we want to build a relationship with them, then that's where you start. You don't even start with ads. You just use the research from the ads to make sure you're going in the right direction.
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, I think, gosh, I remember this so well. And I still feel this sometimes in my business, right? Like the amount of time it takes to sort of build something out. And then, that it's going to work behind you, like the cool thing to me about ads is that it's work. It's kind of how I feel about the dishwasher, or like we have one of those robot vacuums that like goes around our house. And I can sit there and I can be like, work is happening and I am not doing it. And it's just like one of my favorite things. And it's similar to how I feel about ads. It's like your mission is being spread and you are not having to sit to talk to more people. You are not having to have more meetings. You're not having to go to other events or travel, are these things. It's a way to increase your capacity, but it does take a certain amount of like upfront time investment.
You had to put the dishes in there. You had to put the soap in there.
Yes,
You had to rinse them off sometimes.
Exactly. Right. And exactly. So when you do you have kind of like a standard that you feel like you want to say, like you say to a nonprofit, like, look, I need to make sure like really to get you up and running for the first 4 weeks, you have 3 hours a week to spend with me on this? Or like, how do they know like, okay, we do have the capacity to like take this on right now?
Yeah. So I think the first thing they need to consider is just on the ads piece itself. Do we have someone internal who can run the ads for us? Or do we have someone who can learn if they're not already an expert? So they're gonna need to invest time in doing that. So if they already know what they're doing, great. Then you're kind of unique among nonprofits. Of course, there are many out there who do, but having someone internal with the experience, you're ready to go. It's just a matter of kind of making sure you have the assets. If you are new, then it's going to be probably 10 to 20 hours at least of the upfront learning, and then 3 to 4 hours a week just kind of building and learning and improving. Or if you have a budget to hire an expert, that's fine too. But I would start there before
Okay.
if you don't have that, then there's no point in like thinking about the rest. And then for me, when I start talking to a new nonprofit, it's always, well, what is your goal? And if it's mission focused, then usually they don't need to do much of anything to get started. And if there needs to be changes, usually a lot of agencies like ours do get involved, and we'll like build a page for them or make tweaks on a page. Like, hey, you know what, your form is like at the bottom. Let's add a button at the top so people can find it right away. They don't have to, we don't lose people scrolling down. Like little changes that just make the process more seamless for a visitor. But a lot of agencies will just charge a larger amount on a month-to-month basis and kind of just build what you need. Or they'll have add-on services like, we'll do email marketing for you, and we'll do landing pages, and we'll do all this. And it's in addition to like managing your ads, and you kind of need all that if you don't have any of it. I personally run a program called the Donor Accelerator. It's a 3-month coaching program where we build the assets together, and we get, and those assets can be used for anything. You don't have to use them for Google Ads or Google Grants. And I highly recommend my nonprofit clients to use it everywhere and anywhere they can. But it's basically like we work together. I teach, I coach, we build together. If they can't get stuff done, that's what my team is there for, to get it done for them, because it's all about taking action. And then at the end of that program, we run ads for 3 months. So it's actually a 6-month program, but their involvement is that first 3 months of getting everything set up and ready. And it doesn't have to necessarily take 3 months, but I just find that when we're coaching, when we're trying to do done with you, it really helps an organization to kind of to work with me, because I think it's really important for nonprofits to take as much ownership as they can, as they have the capacity to, because they're ultimately the experts. It's their voice,
right?
It's their expertise that they're sharing. It's the relationships they're building. So
right.
I didn't mean to share that as a pitch. I just different approaches.
Oh God, no, I think it's great. And I want folks to find the resources that are right for them. So I'm so glad you shared that about that program. I'm literally just sitting here thinking like, it is so interesting. I experience some similar things in fundraising, right? People are like, we want you to just create the fundraising strategy for us. Mallory, just like audit all of our stuff and just create it. And like, we don't have the capacity. And I'm like, I cannot do that. Like not without you. I could make you a super pretty fundraising strategy, but like it would not be the most impactful or easy for you to implement or easy for you to analyze, right? Like I think there's something I really love about thinking about how ads are used, particularly when we think about how to leverage sort of content to build relationships with people. I think it pushes us, certainly has pushed me as a business owner to ask some really important questions, right? And I actually think when I think about it for fundraisers, it's so interesting. I've had so many conversations like this recently around like marketing versus fundraising. And I'm like, marketing is fundraising. People just don't like the word.
Yes.
Not that they like the word fundraising, let's be honest. But like, I just think it's not really understood how those things are connected. And so for me, it's like the really important questions that you ask when you're creating resources like this lead you to the answer of who are the people who want to build and create the same world that we do. Like, who are the people that want to create the community that we want to create, that want to, have this impact? I love that Seth Godin quote. I say it everywhere, but like, people like us do things like this. And that quote really is like a foundational principle that drives my fundraising strategy too. Who are the people? Who are the people? And what is the this? Right? Like, the people like us do things like this. Okay. People like what do things like what? And I think that the piece that this really incorporates really helps fundraisers. So if you're watching this and you're like, we don't have a marketing person and I don't know anything about marketing, I just want to say, I think this process is actually incredibly helpful for your fundraising strategy, because you start to identify like, who are the people and what are they looking for and what are they wondering and what are they curious about and what do they need, who want to do the same thing that we're trying to do. And being able to answer those questions, provide value in that space, be a thought leader in that space is a huge asset to your fundraising pipeline. Sorry, I got on my soapbox. I'll get off
that's
now.
awesome. No. It's this. I think that's a bigger picture version of the sentence I use. If you want to attract people, make it part of your mission to serve your donors too, and do that by giving them a taste of your mission. So serve donors by giving them a taste of your mission. And if that taste appeals to them and connects to them, then they're the kind of people who, like you said, people like us do this.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's a good quote. So
yeah, it is Seth Godin. And my first marketing book ever when I was an executive director was one of his. And I think it was in there, and it probably for the last 10 years or so, it just like spirals in my head constantly. So I think that, I hope people even if you don't feel ready to apply to the ad grant today, you start to think about like, what is the content and all those things. Okay. I want to ask you another question and then I'll have you tell everyone how to find you. What is the difference? Not the difference like technically, but the difference in terms of impact or skills between SEO optimization and Google Ads?
Okay. So yeah, they're very different worlds, although they have obviously the relation between people doing searches on Google. But your SEO world is all about how do we help Google look at our website and determine that any pages on our website as a whole is relevant for the searcher. So whatever that person is searching for, by giving this person that result on the front page of Google, they feel like Google is a helpful tool. It gives me relevant results. Because if Google just served ads on the first page or irrelevant stuff, people would stop using Google. Like, it would take a while, but people would be like, Google is not actually giving me anything of value. Like, I don't get anything. I have to like scroll through 5 pages, So Google really, really cares about giving relevant results. And so that's what SEO is all about in a high level way. It's saying, what this page is showing, like, visitors are staying on this page a long time. There's a lot of information here. Other websites are linking to this page. It's using all these keywords. It loads fast. There's all these factors that go into it's a relevant result. On the ad side, it is about relevancy, but Google doesn't have to decide, okay, you're better than all the other results out there. It's just you're willing to pay more than all the other results out there. Now, the grant almost mixes in a little bit of that SEO-esque stuff, because now you're saying, well, we're an advertiser, so we don't have to like outrank all the other websites, but we do need to give Google enough information so that it knows that our conversion, like, we're getting conversions and our ads are more relevant than other advertisers or for this particular search or whatever.
Okay.
But it's a lot simpler on the ad side.
Okay, cool. So tell folks how they can find you, and where do they go if they want to learn more about working with you? Just give them all the stuff.
Cool. So I'd say if Google Ad Grants has sounded interesting to you, or if this conversation sparked that in your mind, the very first thing to do is not just to go out and apply. It's to figure out, is this the right program for us? Is our organization a good fit? And so I actually have a quiz that you can take that helps you answer that question. So you just answer a few questions, 5 or 7 questions, and then it will tell you this is not a good fit for you. This would be a decent fit, or this would be excellent for your organization. So it's on our website. You can just find it if you go to yourbeeline.com. The full URL is yourbeeline.com/ad-grants-quiz.
Okay. And I'll put that in
the show notes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Don't worry.
And so you can take that quiz. If you take it and complete it, you will get a free checklist that guides you on how to apply. So if the quiz said it's a good fit for you, then you can just take that application or take the guide and start applying. It's not a difficult process, but it kind of gets into the nitty-gritty technical details. So it'll make it easier. You can reach out to me at chris@yourbeeline.com if you have any questions, if you want to have a conversation about marketing or ad grants, or if you have some ideas about, want to teach me something. I'm happy to learn from you. So
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your wisdom with everyone. I think folks are going to be super excited to watch this and learn from you. So just very grateful for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mallory. Good to be here.